This podcast replay is brought to you by AccidentLawFirm.com. For truck, motorcycle, and rideshare accidents, call Bobby Nunez, 305-444-4407. AccidentLawFirm.com.
It is time to talk a little basketball, and we love doing it, of course, with Michael Lee from The Athletic, NBA writer, and, of course, insider. You can follow him on Twitter, like I and so many others do, at Mr. Michael Lee. Let's bring him aboard. Michael, good afternoon, my friend. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Well, Michael, you know, we have a term of endearment on this show. It's called a blind ass fan alert, and we play it, and we do it as a term of endearment for somebody that doesn't have a realistic approach of their team. You know, somebody that'll call me in August and say, oh, I don't care what the Dolphins did. I see 9 wins from this team. They're going to win 9. And we do this. We play this for them, right?
Blind ass fan alert. Look out, everyone. We've got a blind ass fan coming through.
All right, so Michael, I hear you laughing, all right? So, and I am guilty of being a blind-ass fan. I think every sports fan in the world is always guilty of being a blind-ass fan because at one point or another, you love your team so much, you're unrealistic about them. Well, this Heat season, I saw the Butler-led Heat team. I said, 7-8 seed. They'll get in the playoffs. They'll get bounced in the first round. I've seen this story before. Well, all of a sudden, I start seeing Nunn. I start seeing Hero. I start seeing Duncan Robinson, even Carlos Silva helping out. And now I'm drinking and guzzling Kool-Aid and saying, you know what? They're not a championship team, but they can scare the hell out of anybody in the Eastern Conference. Am I a blind-ass fan, Mr. Michael Lee?
No, but you left out the name, you know, that I was waiting to hear in this damn out of bio.
Well, yes.
I mean, I think he's been the key, the difference. I mean, obviously Jimmy Butler's presence, having a superstar there, has elevated everybody. And that's the one thing that, you know, Pat Riley's been in search of, you know, ever since LeBron and, you know, left and Bosh had his injury, you know, Dwayne got older, but I think he wanted to have a superstar in the fold, and that you can see that the impact that it has on your franchise when you have a guy who can hit shots in the clutch, who just makes everybody better with just his infectious energy and just, you know, the fact that he draws so much attention. And I think that's what you're seeing with Jimmy Butler's presence. But Bam Adebayo has really helped elevate them to being a possible top 4 team in the East this year. I mean, the one thing that they benefit from as well is that their division is going to be weak, and they got 4 games each against the Wizards, the Hornets, and the Hawks. So those are some wins that they should probably rack up pretty easily. But they also have proven that they can play against the best of the best. So I think one thing that you could say is that the Heat has excelled in player development, and they've also established a culture that we talk about all the time. And guys, they have guys now who are embracing it and embody it.
Well, come on, let's just call it like we see it. We got rid of Whiteside, and Portland's got Whiteside, and now you see where Miami is and where Portland is, and that's all you need to know right there and then.
Well, they had to find a way to get, you know, Bam more opportunity.
Yep.
You know, and he's proven that he was worth that investment, you know, and trading away to find Whiteside, who you just couldn't really count on, especially in today's modern game. I think the one thing that Bam brings is he's an essential, you know, rim defender. He's an essential playmaker. You know, he can switch multiple positions, guard multiple positions. He is the ideal kind of big for this game, considering his skill set. And, you know, having him on the floor more, I think it just makes the team that much better. So, yeah, I'm not going to, bounce on Hassan Whiteside any more than he probably already had dealt with when he was in Miami. But I just think that, you know, Spoelstra sort of has a team and an element that sort of fit what the Heat want to do more than what they had.
And, Michael, like, everything's changed the way you look at the Heat because I kind of said The Jimmy Butler move is a nice move, but it really doesn't mean anything unless you get that other star. And they didn't have the cap room to do it because they still got a couple of bad contracts. And then the next stage was, well, is Bam or Winslow going to step up and become that guy that can be next to Jimmy? And guess what? It's happened. And Bam has become a guy that I think he's playing like an all-star right now, actually.
Absolutely.
And then you add the young guys around that can. Remember, Michael, the last couple of years, Miami, they couldn't score with a fistful of dollars in a whorehouse. I mean, it was terrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true. Come on, you walk into the Bunny Ranch and you got your hands full of money, and nobody wanted to take it from you. Now, all these young guys, Bam and Jimmy, when you do get that cap room in another year, you're going to have stars lined up now. Now you'll have several guys that'll say, hell yeah, I'll join that group right there because I have the supporting cast and now 2 stars in Bam and Jimmy. It changes everything now.
It does, but I don't even know if they're going to wait that long just to try to, if this team continues to prove itself, deem itself worthy of, being a top 4 seed, I wouldn't put it past Riley to make a move. To deadline and try to, upgrade the talent. Because they have a lot of guys who are playing well, but also are unproven and untested. And, you've seen, kind of ups and downs of Kendrick Nunn, and you've seen, Tyler Herro's had his moments, and he's had, games where he had a donut recently. I think that, you see situations where young guys are going to be inconsistent, and they may have to eventually, get guys who are more reliable in those situations, and if the team proves itself worthy. But I think what they're showing now is what Jimmy Butler told me earlier this season. I had a chance to talk to him earlier this year, and he was just like, we got some dogs on this team, and they got some guys who are willing to compete and they're going to scrap, and that's always kind of been, the Heat's sort of identity. But now it's like it's not just that they're competitive; they have some talent too, and that's really what separates you from being that kind of overachieving team to being that team that can go out there and dominate, opposition. I think that example of just, they were down against the Hawks. Obviously not the Hawks are a quality team. They're a struggling team. But, you're down 6 with a minute left, and Trae Young is shouting it's over. And, and typically in that situation, point to the minute left, that's pretty good. You should be able to hold that lead. But the fact that he came back and forced overtime and then just ran them out the court, I think that just says a lot about just the feistiness of this group and just that's why they're a fun team to rally behind.
Michael Lee, of course, from The Athletic, joining us here, NBA writer. You can follow him on Twitter at Mr. Michael Lee. All right. So if they're not going to waste time, get me even more excited about this season, Michael. Who is that star out there that might be disgruntled, might be able to be had? Who's the guy that Miami could trade for? Give me a name. Get me even more excited about the 1920 season for the Miami Heat.
Oh man, I don't know. Now you put me in a position where I'm not really prepared. But I guess I would stay away from like a Kevin Love who has 3 years and $90 million contract after this year. But maybe there's a guy like say DeMar DeRozan, who could be if San Antonio continues to sort of underachieve and not really be a factor in the playoff picture. You add a veteran like him. Who struggled in the playoffs, with the pressure, but you team him with a Jimmy Butler, you team him with a guy who, can close and can finish, but, you can rely on a vet like DeMar to carry you through those first 3 quarters or so. That could be the kind of move that they could make. It's not like, he's a really good player. He's an all-star, historically. He just hasn't really had, played on a team where there was a closer that could finish the job with him. He was often in that role and he couldn't really live up to it. But again, he does sort of fit the mentality of the Heat, and I think that he could be a piece that could provide post up presence and command double teams to kick out to the shooters that they have on their roster. But again, I think it would all depend on what they'd have to sacrifice. You don't really want to disrupt too much the chemistry that you're building and talent you have in the fold, because I think that they got to be high on a guy like Tyler Harrow and what you can see from him going forward. And I like the pieces I like the pieces that they're developing. But you can always improve. So I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I'm with you. The only thing is I can't see them getting rid of none. Hero or Duncan, because the shooting is so important in this league.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And those guys, I mean Duncan Robinson, my brother. I mean, wow, that's
I mean, where are they finding these guys? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you got two undrafted guys, starting and having big games, having big moments, and being guys that you rely on. That's what I think is most impressive. And you look at, Philadelphia got Josh Richardson in the Jimmy Butler trade, and that was another guy that, second round pick that the Heat, really groomed to be a really good player, and they were able to, move him to get a star. I think, there are certain teams, the Raptors, historically the Spurs, the Heat, that just have these sort of cultures in place where, you find young guys that a lot of people overlook, and, and you develop them and you give them opportunity, and they prove that they belong in this league, because this league is really all about opportunity. And I'm sure the guys are just waiting for the chance to play, and he's giving it to them.
And you know what? My theory on this, Michael, is I think that the teams that spend more time in development and pay attention more to their G League and create the environments in their G League that they have in the NBA, which is what Miami does, that when you play for Sioux Falls, you're playing for Miami. It's the same thing. You're going to learn the same things. They're going to teach you the same way. So when you make the transition, you're there. But because of kids in the one and dones, and there are so many failures in one and dones because those kids then go to Europe and then they go to minors and all that stuff, that I think more talent is falling through the cracks than ever now, because now kids are not hanging out for like you and I grew up with guys that would be coached by Denny Crum and John Thompson, all these guys for 3 to 4 years. So less guys fell through the cracks because we got to see them a lot longer. We get all these kids that are either one and done or not going. So many more guys are slipping through the cracks that if you know how to work it and work, look under every rock out there, you're going to find a Duncan Robinson. You're going to find a Kendrick Nunn. Why? Because I think now, more than ever, even though technology's out there, we know less about these players than ever because of the one and dones.
Well, that too. I mean, I will say that, Nunn's a unique situation because I don't think that he was unknown. I think he just, he slipped because of what he had done in school was well known. And now he's trying to, rehabilitate his life and move forward from that unfortunate incident. But I think overall your point is valid, because you look at a guy, say a Draymond Green or Malcolm Brogdon, these guys who went to school 4 years and, were able to be productive college players, but somehow slipped to the second round because they think that just because you stay in school that means you're a bad player. But actually, some guys stay in school to get better and to improve and to get a degree. It's kind of a novel concept, but some guys actually want to go through and do that. And you can come to the NBA and you can be ready. You can be physically able to contribute right away because you're ready. And I think when you look at a one and done, a lot of times, those guys, it takes time because sometimes they dominate because they're physically more overpowering than everybody else. They get to the league and they can't do that anymore. And then sometimes, they're just not as skilled, and that sort of stuff just gets exposed, quickly. But I think that, there is something to be said about, going to school and getting better each year and coming out when you're ready as opposed to when everyone says you're ready.
Michael Lee joining us from The Athletic. Michael, how perfect was last night, man? The Canadian people are just great people overall. Those Toronto fans handled everything pretty much perfectly. They embraced the moment. I thought Under Armour was really smart, too, taking out the billboard and all of that.
New Balance. Yeah.
New Balance, I'm sorry. That was I don't know. I don't know if you could have drawn up a more perfect night than last night.
Yeah, it was perfect because it was all about basketball too in the end, and that sort of fit what Kawhi's all about. He's sort of a no nonsense guy who's not gonna, be be caught up in just too much of a spectacle. But I thought that the video tribute, the lights out with the spotlight on the rim and the recreation of his incredible Game 7 shot, just sort of it was just a really special moment. You don't see that very often, where a team loses a player, but is so appreciative of his contributions that they just say, okay, we love you, even though you're not with us anymore. And I think that that's something that it's rare, and it's kind of disappointing when you think about the fact that a guy say will give 7 or 8, however many years of his career to one team, and then all of a sudden say, okay, I can't win here, I got to go, and then all those years are flushed for the sake of the ending. That's all you remember, the fact that he left or he quit, and you don't get a chance to really have those kind of reunions that are like love affairs, and I think that that was sort of a good example of what can happen if you leave on good terms, if you don't deceive your fans, don't tell the people what you think they want to hear because you think they'll like you more. But I think the fact that Kawhi just said, I'm here to play basketball, I'm here to get something out of this, and maybe y'all can get some out of this too, and it was no nonsense. I think that's why it was such a good night, because there was never any BS surrounding Kawhi's situation there, and it ended perfectly.
It was magical. I got to say, the way it was really, really cool to see it, and appreciative. Those fans were really, really appreciative of what he was able to bring to them. I got to ask you one more thing before I let you go. I just get a feeling this Kyrie Irving thing is going to end again really odd in Brooklyn. Am I wrong here? What's your gut tell you?
It's not off to a good start. I think the fact that they have a winning record without him, and they were struggling with him, it doesn't set the stage for it to be a successful partnership. I mean, a lot depends on what happens when Kevin Durant comes back and how healthy it's going to be. But it seems like it's not. The first impression isn't very good so far, especially with him being injured. But I don't know. He's going to have a lot to prove when he comes back from his injury, and I think that the fans in Boston are kind of anxiously waiting to see what he does too, because he didn't leave there on good terms. He obviously forced his way out of Cleveland, and he's home, so this is the place where he's supposed to make it happen. But it's really going to be up to him to see what he wants to make of it. It can't just be about talk. He's got to go out there and perform, and I guess the Nets fans are anxiously waiting to see him do it.
Is he conscious of what he looks like in public? Does he realize his shortcomings at all?
I'm sure he's aware of it. I'm sure he's completely aware of all the things that are said about him. Even if he doesn't read them, I'm sure he has people who tell him. So I know it's probably got him, a little depressed, a little down. I mean, he mentioned, how much his, grandfather's passing affected him last season. But I'm sure that combined with the fact that things kind of crumbled in Boston made it very hard for him. So I know he's aware of the pressures, and he's been living in a fishbowl since he was, basically a high school senior, and going to Duke, and we've watched him grow before our eyes. We've watched every stumble, we've watched every mistake, and we've seen all the successes. And it's a challenge to try to, stay, clean through all that. And I'm pretty sure that for him it's tough because he's under scrutiny from all angles, and it probably feels like it's unrelenting. And I think you've heard Adam Silver, speak about, difficulties that players have with mental health and some of the struggles that they deal with, they encounter because of the pressure that come from this job. And I know Kyrie's no different.
Yeah, so far it has not gone well. Follow him on Twitter at Mr. Michael Lee, and more importantly, catch his exceptional work at The Athletic, covering the league on a daily basis. Michael, as always, man, you're always kind enough to take some time. We really appreciate it, and thank you for telling me that I'm not a blind ass fan. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, he's actually a fun team to watch, so it's a good team to get behind. So enjoy.
Good stuff. All right, Michael, you be good out there. Thank you, my friend.
All right, thank you. Take care.
You got it. There you go, Mr. Michael Lee on Twitter. Make sure you follow him there. Excellent work as always, getting